Hey, so welcome back to another analysis. This was a game I actually didn't think I performed that well with. Obviously, the computer says I'm very, very wrong about that. But as you can see from this bar, pretty much one move changed the entire game. And yeah, so no blunders for either side, no major mistakes. One mistake for him, or sorry, my goodness, I can't read. Two mistakes for him, two inaccuracies, a couple of decent moves. Oops, my apologies. And I have one good move, and we both have three book moves each. So this game approximately is like 27 moves, 32. Okay, 32. So okay, just normal English variation. So I tried to go for my English. He goes for this move, Knight F6, which is a strong idea against the English. And the idea is to simply be possibly after white just takes more control of the center, and you go for the classic King's Indian defense where you have the king on here, the bishop fianchettoed right here, and then the rook here. So king, rook, bishop, knight, and then you indirectly force something to happen in the center, and you just start undermining white's strong pawn chains here. So I just decide, I'm like, okay, well, this is a casual game. I'm just going to go d4 and see if I can get a theoretical line. So they went for a gambit. So this was a Budapest gambit, I think it was. Let me check. Okay, this was a Budapest defense. So I decide to take, naturally. He goes here, and the idea is to force me to go knight f3 or even f3. F3 would be even more tremendous here because of check. So force me to go knight f6, and then they'll bring the bishop here and target, and all of a sudden pressure is on my position. I have to defend and block my black square bishop out. And then after everything's said and done, they'll just play more moves and start targeting these isolated pawns. Well, non-supported, not isolated. That's just plan for black. I decide to go for a c3 move. I honestly probably should have... actually, I think there was a move that Lichess wanted me to do. Actually, I recommend the same move. e3. Okay, very interesting. So yeah, e3. Oh, I see. Takes and then defends. Okay, so it's just one tempo short. I decided to go for e4 instead. So taking advantage of that d5 square. So now I have 4 defenders on it, and also a defender on d4, which he only has the knight, no pawns. So knight, knight, and then no pawns for him. So ironically, he should have, so he should have gone b3, or in my personal opinion, maybe even b6. No, b6 is an accuracy. Okay. Oh, I see. b6, f6, or f4, sorry. Okay, very, very interesting. So yeah, they've given up their e7 pawn, and they can't really play d5 because there's just way too many attackers on that square. So, yeah, so when you're down positionally like this, you need to start being aggressive. And this was a pin and also castle. Just get the king out of the way. The center is too far occupied by white. Just consolidate and get out of the way. They do not do this. They instead go c6. I decide to go for f4 and still have little to zero reason why I did not go f4, because there's really no threat there. And after here, you'll have this pawn chain. Even after here, you can just, or queen back to here, you can just push the pawn and totally be fine. But my mistake, they play another very weird move, which is d6. It's a weird move because it blocks the bishop. Bishop now is going to have to go for a very passive diagonal, which is about to get taken over completely by white. I decide to offer the trade to the knights. Get rid of that only piece in the center, or get rid of one of the 2 pieces in the center. So if he trades, I can take with the queen, have a defender on this, and then he'll need to develop again. and he can't defend. He can't develop this. So that's my plan. He goes to g4, a very, very weird move. Now, may look at this and say, oh, it's like, oh, I get it. Okay, so he's attacking the knight. But that's the problem. That's all it does. When you're making moves, when you're developing pieces like this, beginner players will say, okay, this is a good move because I'm attacking the knight and it's a pin. That's a really good move. Higher level players say, okay, fine, but it doesn't accomplish anything. It just helps white develop with e2. e2 defending against it, threatening to take the knight, and here's the variation that I calculated. So I was calculating a few options here, but I ultimately decided that e2 was best. Why? Because after their next move, which would be getting the bishop out of the way, I can take, which is inaccuracy at first, but they should have just taken this, takes, and then takes. So I was calculating this line. They decide, and I figured that they would. They say, okay, I can take this, and it's forcing the queen. That's a good move. Wrong. Just because something attacks something doesn't necessarily make a good move. This isn't checkers. They take, and I say, okay, now I'm definitely going to get a piece here, because he took one piece. I already took this piece, so this is a mistake, because I can take again, and it's attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time. And if he goes something like over here, I can take again, and then force him out of hiding. Actually, I'm gonna calculate that just to be certain. So it's here, and then here, and then goes here. Okay, then you're just losing this. Okay. And if you just decide to go here, and then okay, I see. So it's actually already too late, because after the trades, he's attacking my queen, I'm attacking his, so if he moves the bishop out of the way, I take his queen. If he moves queen out of the way, I'm attacking the bishop, so he has to be committed to this idea of taking. And I've already taken 6 points of material, he's taken 3. So at the end, I am up with 3 points of material, and it is definitely winning for white. So the castle, I bring my knight to the center instead of castling. The idea is that this is a fork, a pawn and a bishop. Bishop probably can move, maybe even not. So black defense, I take the c7 pawn. I go back to d5, attacking the same piece. He does the same move, and I decide, let's just take. We're up material. If everything gets traded, we'll be fine. And I took this here, not realizing, this is, again, the bad thing about one movers, is I said, okay, I can take this pawn and take the rook. That's a good move. I didn't factor in that this e4 pawn's hanging, and I should have played this and then castles. So this is what happened. He took, and then he ended up actually getting a lot of counterplay with these two pawns. These two pawns are very weak. There's not a lot they can do. I have to go here, otherwise I'm going to get back rank mated. He does the idea I believe would be strong for him. It's still winning because white can just get there with the rook, and there's still just a piece up. He commits the idea of going a6, b5, a4, and then b4, forcing me out of hiding so he can take the pawn and hopefully get some compensation. Maybe if he's lucky and I play dumb, he'll get a pawn or maybe even a bishop. So I decided to go here, threatening back rank, and also with the clever idea of playing rook to d6, or even a4. I think d6 was a little bit better. And so now the problem is, okay, sure, you can play this, but then takes goes here, and then this pawn will get taken. He says, okay, well, I can't do that plan now. I have to go back up to c5 or c6. I get my bishop out of the way, wanting to play a3, and then probably even actually bishop c3 before a3. So then everything will defend each other. So he attacks, I go with my plan, and he finds this decently clever move. It forces me back. This is not a threat because we can take, which is exactly what happens. And I have one attacker. He has one defender. And if I play here, I can take. I decide to go up, attack the pawn. He has to either go back or come forward or even move the pawn. He decides to move the pawn. I said, okay, well, you can take this pawn because outside pawns are pretty much almost useless anyway. They're very, very bad. He takes, and I take, and black ultimately resigned the game. There is no counterplay afterwards. Even with perfect play, we'll say that black decided that they have to play defensive and go up to a5, which is the best move. I have to go here, and then best moves. Just gonna play best moves here, and then I'm actually thinking about going forward, which is not good. Okay, yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, that's why they played this. And here. Okay, and then yeah. So as you can see, this is just very much. This G7 pawn is going to be a problem for white in the future. Or problem for black, apologies. Problem for black in the future, because it's just going to be a target. If this moves, these two are now targets. And if they try to move the king, the bishop's going to come into f8. Black can accomplish nothing here. This king has to stay on the back rank to defend against this weakness. And the rook cannot come to the defense of the pawn because there's only 3 spots they can go. Here, here, here. And actually, that might be a good move. But the problem is, this is going to end up happening. If we just decide to push forward. I was actually thinking about just playing this. And yeah. And that's going to be a problem. And you can just kind of bulldoze the position because this rook will be trapped. So even with that defense, it's still going to be, they'll still have the same problem. They'll have a pawn weakness. This pawn chain is just way too weak. This backwards pawn is just not gonna make it. So this was my game. I think it was a 5-minute. Yeah, it was a blitz game. So this is just a blitz game. This kind of just shows you where my thought process is and how I look at things from the very beginning, from dealing with Gambits. So I've had a couple of positional games, but not a lot of games dealing with tactical chaos like this. So that is all, folks, and I'll see you in the next one.